The first thing Saya heard every morning was silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind with weight to it. The kind that presses on your chest when you realize that in a hallway of 200 students, not one of them is looking at you. Not because they dislike you. Just because you're not there enough to dislike. 17 years old. Second year at Hanol High. Average grades. Average everything, which sounds harmless until you're the one living it. Average at a school like this isn't a neutral word. It's a sentence. It means you will sit in the same seat for 3 years, and when you graduate, no one will remember which seat it was. No one will remember your name. No one will remember your face. You will simply be someone who was there once. Like a chair, like a window, like background noise that the ear eventually stops hearing altogether. Saya had learned to make herself smaller over time. Not on purpose. It just happened. The way things happen when the world keeps confirming them. She stopped raising her hand in class. Stopped trying to join conversations that closed before she could get a word in. She arrived early every morning before the classroom filled, and sat in her seat and watched the door and told herself that this was fine. That invisible was safe. That safe was enough. That was the morning she found the notebook. It was under her desk, pushed back against the metal leg like it had been there for a long time. Old cover. Dark and soft in the way things get soft when too many hands have touched them over too many years. No name on the front. No label. She turned it over, nothing on the back either. Just the cover, worn smooth, waiting. She almost left it there. She opened the first page. 3 words, written in ink that looked older than the paper itself. The kind of ink that doesn't fade, it deepens. Write your wish. She almost laughed. Did laugh. A short, quiet sound she immediately covered with her hand out of pure reflex, because even laughing alone felt like something that could be noticed and taken from her. This is ridiculous, she said to no one. But she didn't put it down. The classroom was still empty. The morning light came through the windows at that low, quiet angle it only holds for a few minutes before the day hardens into something ordinary. Something about that particular silence, that particular light, that particular version of alone, made her pick up her pen. She wrote 4 words. I want to be the top student. She shoved the notebook into her bag and forgot about it entirely by second period. She did not forget about it after third. Because in third period the teacher called on her for the first time in months. A question on a chapter she had half-read while thinking about something else. And the answer came, not slowly, not after the hot panic of being caught unprepared, but cleanly. Completely. The way answers come when you have known something for years without realizing it. The teacher paused. Said correct in a voice that had a little surprise stitched into it. 2 students turned to look at her. Nobody had turned to look at Saya in a very long time. By the end of the day she had answered correctly 4 more times. Her history essay, written in 40 minutes the night before, had been held up in front of the class as an example of strong analytical thinking. Her name was spoken clearly. As recognition. Not as a formality, not as roll call, but as the kind of acknowledgement that means someone has actually seen you. Walking home that evening, she felt something she didn't immediately have a word for. Then she found it. Visible. She felt visible. That night she opened the notebook again. There was new writing on the page beneath hers. Different ink, slightly darker. Different handwriting, nothing like hers. 2 words placed beneath her wish like a receipt being stamped. Payment received. She stared at it for a long time without moving. Then she chose one of her explanations. It was already there, she had missed it, she had been too distracted to notice, closed the notebook and went to sleep. She wrote in it again 3 days later. She wasn't proud of it. But loneliness has a way of making you write things you wouldn't say out loud. I want everyone to like me. By the end of the week she had been invited to 2 lunch tables, added to 3 group chats, asked twice for her notes by people who had walked past her for an entire year without speaking. She moved through the hallway and people smiled at her. Said her name. Held doors. Made space. She had wanted this for so long that the wanting had become background noise, something she'd stopped hearing the way you stop hearing traffic. And now it was real and warm and she was drinking it in like something that had been starved for too long. But on Thursday, a girl named Rena didn't come to school. Saya noticed because Rena had sat 1 row ahead of her and had been, until recently, the center of the exact social world Saya had just been welcomed into. Naturally warm. The kind of person other people orbit without being asked to. Everyone liked Rena, or they had. She was absent Thursday. And Friday. The following Monday, a quiet conversation between two teachers stopped the moment students came within earshot. Later at lunch, one student said offhandedly, "Didn't Rena used to sit with us?" "I barely remember." Saya set her chopsticks down. "Barely remember." That night she sat at her desk and looked at the notebook without touching it. She thought about the two words beneath her first wish. Payment received. She thought about what that meant, really meant, if she let herself think it through instead of choosing an easier explanation. Every improvement in her life had an edge. And on the other side of that edge was someone else getting smaller, quieter, gone. She put the notebook in her drawer and locked it. 3 days later she woke up and it was on her desk. The drawer was still locked. The key was still on her wrist, on the small cord she'd tied it to before sleeping. She checked both twice. She opened the notebook with hands that weren't quite steady. New words. Same darker ink. Next wish confirmed. "I didn't write anything," Saya said out loud. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "I didn't make a wish." She thought about Rena. Still absent. No explanation given to anyone. She thought about the girl from her freshman year who had transferred schools suddenly in October, and how within 2 weeks no one had mentioned her at all. Not because they were being unkind, but because the memory had simply smoothed over, the way water smooths over the place where a stone has sunk. She tried to destroy it. She tore pages out. They were back by morning, intact, the ink unsmudged as though the pages had never been touched. She held the notebook over her desk lamp until the cover should have scorched. Nothing. Cool under her fingers the next morning like it had never known heat. She walked to the river 2 blocks from her house on a Tuesday night, held the notebook over the water, let it drop, watched it sink, stood there for 10 full minutes watching the surface settle, then walked home. It was on her pillow. Open. Saya sat on the edge of her bed and looked at it for a long time without moving. The page it was open to was near the back, further than she had ever opened it. Further than she had ever written. Pages she had never touched. The page was full. Her handwriting. Exactly hers. Every pressure point, every curve, the slightly uneven spacing between words that she had never been able to correct no matter how many years she practiced. All of it, perfectly replicated, in ink she had not put there, on a page she had never opened, forming a single sentence. Final wish, me. She read it 3 times. The room didn't get darker. The temperature didn't drop. No sound changed. Everything was exactly as it had been, the lamp, the desk, the locked drawer with the key still on the cord around her wrist. Ordinary. Indifferent. As though the sentence sitting in her own handwriting on a page she had never written was entirely normal and she was the strange thing for being afraid of it. She thought about every wish. Every person who had disappeared quietly after each one. Rena. The girl from freshman year. The third-year boy who had been at the top of the rankings and then 1 week simply wasn't mentioned anymore. Not transferred, not moved, just absent from every conversation as though the space he'd occupied had been smoothed over and filled. She had thought she was making wishes. She understood now that she hadn't been. The notebook had never been taking her wishes. It had been building toward something, stacking improvements in her life the way you stack weight on one side of a scale, making her visible, making her matter, making her believe she had power over it. Page by page. Wish by wish. Each one pulling her further in, deeper, more dependent on what it gave her, until she had given it everything it needed. Until she was the only thing left to take. She looked at the sentence in her own hand. She had not controlled the notebook. She had never controlled it. It had chosen her before she ever found it under that desk. Placed itself there, waited for exactly the right morning, exactly the right quality of loneliness, exactly the kind of girl who would write a wish and tell herself it was foolish and write it anyway. The kind of girl no one would notice going quiet. No one would notice going missing. The kind of girl the world had already practiced forgetting. She stood up. Walked to the window. The street outside was ordinary and lit and completely indifferent. She looked back at the notebook on her bed. And for the first time since she had found it, she did not reach for it. She sat back down. Picked up her own pen. Her real pen from her own bag. Turned to the very last page, the one after the sentence written in her hand. It was blank. She wrote 4 words. Slowly. In her own handwriting, which she now recognized completely as hers. Imperfect, uneven, real. I take it back. She closed the notebook. The lamp flickered once. Then the room was still. She didn't sleep that night. She sat at her desk until morning, watching the notebook, waiting for it to open by itself or move or write back or do any of the things it had done before. It didn't. By the time the sun came through the window, the notebook looked different. Not darker. Not older. Just finished. The way something looks when it has run out of pages. She picked it up. It felt lighter than it ever had. She walked to the river. Dropped it in. Watched it sink. She walked home. When she got to school that morning, Rena was back. Sitting in her seat. Laughing about something. She looked up when Saya walked in and said, "Hey," the way you say hey to someone you've always known. Saya sat down. Nobody turned to look at her. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.